Hey everyone, before the episode starts, I just want to make a couple points. First of all, I sound different right now. That's because I got a new mic. Pat also got a new mic. You're gonna hear it in the next episode. There's a couple editor's notes in this episode, so that's why there's gonna be the sound difference for my mic here. Second, we're sorry that this episode took so long to come out, but it's finally here, and it's definitely a long one. We're both very enthusiastic about this movie, so yeah, enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome to the 50th episode of Fresh Off the Reel. My name is Lib.
And I'm the 50th Pat.
We've been on this show for 50 episodes. I was almost going to say years. That would have been very wrong.
I mean, that's almost as old as I am.
Exactly half as old as you are. You're 100. Anyways.
I'm 100.
Thank you guys so much for allowing us to do 50 episodes. I mean, this is crazy. The only reason we do this is because we love doing this. And, you know, it's really awesome knowing that people like doing what we like to do. Does that make sense?
Those were words. Yeah, those were words.
Those were words. But, you know, thank you guys so much. This is great. 50 episodes. We're going to get to 100. We're halfway there. Let's do it.
We'll see you in 50 more.
And for the 50th episode, what better movie to choose than Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the sequel to one of the greatest animated movies of all time.
The sequel to my favorite movie of all time.
That's true. That too.
This is a big movie for me. I'm excited to talk about it. Was excited to see it. Yeah.
All right.
Cinema.
Let's talk cinema. We watched it in theaters. Theater was it packed? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was packed and it was warm.
I was gonna say the theater was packed, but I couldn't remember if it was.
You know, it was packed.
This was a crazy watch. Watching most Marvel movies in theaters is a crazy watch nowadays, I guess. But like this was like, wow, this was crazy.
I kind of wish we had better seats. Our seats kind of sucked, but it's also my fault for getting my tickets the week the movie came out, which I usually do. And I have yet seen in my brain. I'm like, well, I've never not gotten tickets. You know, I've always at least gotten tickets. So I'm just gonna keep procrastinating until one day I miss out on a movie because I waited too long.
We almost didn't have seats because we were a group of 5. If we were a group of 6, there wouldn't have been seats because they only had seats available in groups of 5. Unless we sat all the way in the fucking back.
True. But we did it. We watched it. It was fun. The movie's good. I listen. This is the sequel to best animated picture winner of 2018, or technically 2019. We made this joke literally like a few minutes before recording, but like I don't think anybody expected this movie to not be good at the very least. Great. There's a discussion to be had there, I think. Better than the first one.
Another discussion.
Okay, maybe there's a discussion to be had. I definitely have seen a lot of takes of people saying it's better than the first one. I don't necessarily agree, but I do really, really love this movie. I think there's a lot here to talk about and get into, and a lot to enjoy. Maybe a little too much, and we'll get into that.
So this movie has 3 different directors. Joaquim Dos Santos, Justin K. Thompson, and Kemp Powers. None of these people directed the first movie, which is something to note. This movie does feel different. The presentation of the movie is very different than the first one. The first one, I mean, the first one did feel like a complete story. There's something to note here. This movie is a part 1 of a 2-parter. The second one's Beyond the Spider-Verse, comes out in 9 months. So that's something to look forward to.
I'm just going to put that out there. It's out there now. It's getting delayed. Let's all just prepare for that emotionally. Because there's no way it's coming out in 9 months. But yeah, it's scheduled to come out in 9 months. I don't believe it.
Yeah, it probably won't. The 3 directors of the last movie, however, were one of the, I think, 9 producers. 7 producers. 3 of them were the directors of of the last movie. This movie does feel very different. Like I said before, the presentation, but the animation as well. Let's just jump straight into the animation because this is the biggest thing about this movie. It was the biggest thing about the last movie. There has never been a movie like Into the Spider-Verse. You can hear more about it in our review of it that we did last year, almost exactly 1 year, hint, hint. We talked about the animation and how different it is and how movies have been trying to kind of capture the same feeling. A recent one was Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I feel like really tried to capture that comic book kind of feel. In the pursuit of making movies look better, we have lowered the frame rate, which is interesting, but like that's a good artistic choice, I find.
Yeah, it works. It works surprisingly well. I thought Puss in Boots looked great. More about that in our review of Puss in Boots. But I also think that new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, Mutant Mayhem, I think, right?
Yeah, Mutant Mayhem.
That one is also another Spider-Verse-esque animated movie. And while I do think eventually this trend will get tired, we've talked about that at length in other episodes. Obviously, this is not something every studio can do well. But we'll see how that Ninja Turtles movie comes, and hopefully this style isn't beaten to the ground. But thankfully, Across the Spider-Verse does do things differently, and I think they've somehow made it better. They've evolved. They've gone across their art style, and now they've moved beyond it. See, that's a joke.
That's a funny joke.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I'm ready to say this yet because I need to really sit down and think about it. But this might be the best animated movie I've ever seen. Not the best animated movie, but I think the best looking animated movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I'll agree with that, but that is I mean, I can't think of any movie that has better animation. I can't really think of.
Like I'm not ready to give it number one yet because I need to really think about it, right? But it's definitely like on that list. It's up there.
Yeah, this movie's long too. It's the longest American animated movie, I think, is what I saw.
And it does have it does I because when we watch really long movies, especially superhero movies, you tend to feel it, right? And I don't think that's necessarily the case here. There wasn't a time during this movie where I'm like looked at my phone and was like, okay, like are we almost done yet? Like this has been going on for too long. But I definitely do think it has a little bit of a Lord of the Rings problem. And I'll explain more of that when we start talking about the ending. But I feel like this movie has two endings, and they're very noticeable. Like when we got to the first ending, I was like, okay, I was ready to get up and leave because I knew going into it that there wasn't an after credit scene. So I was like, okay, that's the end of the movie. Like we're done now. We can go. And the movie goes on for 20 more minutes. And that's not to say that extra 20 minutes isn't good because it's still great. But if it does feel like it has two endings, kind of like how I think Two Towers is the worst of them in that regard, where the movie feels like it ended 3 times before it actually did. And this movie kind of feels the same way. It ended and then it continued and it ended again.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say, I was like, because this is gonna be it right now. It isn't, but this is going to be the middle movie of a trilogy, and I was about to say, who likes the middle? No one likes the middle, but Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, I think because this movie, like thinking like now that you said it, because I didn't want to, but you did, so now we've opened up that can of worms. This movie is very Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
In the way it's presented, in the way it fits into the story, it is extremely Empire Strikes Back. Whether that's a good or bad thing depends. I know a lot of people got kind of stopped in the face by the to be continued at the end. I mean, Lib and I, we knew beforehand.
I mean, the movie was shown as Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. That's what it was called before they changed it.
Yeah, but like for people who don't know, maybe didn't see that coming, but also there was like, you're in there for almost 3 hours. You probably should have put 2 and 2 together. The story wasn't getting close to the end yet, you know? But yeah, Empire, like Empire ends with the Vader and Luke confrontation, and then it just kind of ends because it's meant to lead into Return of the Jedi. It's the same case here. This movie ends with an open ending because I would imagine Beyond the Spider-Verse will pick up immediately after this movie ends. Like opening scene will be, we'll get into it. We're not going to jump to the ending right now.
Yeah.
But I would imagine Beyond will pick up right there where it ended in Across the
Yeah,
Spider-Verse.
we'll talk about that when we talk about this movie's ending. But let's talk about the movie's beginning, because that's where movies start.
Yeah, that is where movies start.
That is true fact. So the movie begins right away. We're focusing on Gwen. Interesting choice. The movie's not about her, but I mean, I guess some people can say that the movie is about her.
She's definitely the second lead. Miles is obviously the main character, right? But the movie also does focus a lot on Gwen, and they kind of use Gwen as an introduction to a plot point that's going to come up later, and it's actually something I really want to dive into. But yeah, I think the beginning segment with Gwen is really cool. And I'm really feel bad for the people who saw this at opening night and watched the version of the movie with the really bad sound editing. Because I got to see the re-release after, and man, is it a lot better when you could hear what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, like that whole thing of like the movie being mixed pretty poorly, is that I started seeing a lot of people saying how we kind of need subtitles in movie theaters now. I don't know if that's true, but I don't know if that's false either. I mean, if there's a if we end up putting subtitles in movie theaters, I kind of don't care. I mean, every time I watch a movie at home, I always have the subtitles on. When I play a video game, I always have the subtitles on. I don't know why.
No, I'm just. I mean, my situation's a bit different, but I do the same thing, and I'm not for or against it. If they're there, cool. If they're not there, I don't mind. But I think situations like with this movie's release, man, getting to see it again and actually like hearing things properly and just made Gwen's sequence go a little better. So I think that would have been a case where having subtitles would have been beneficial.
Yeah,
But yeah.
there were a lot of people, me included, who just straight up could not understand a single thing Hobie said. Like, I couldn't understand him at all. Not because of the accent, because most of the time when he's speaking, he's got his punk music in the background.
Yeah, and I think the worst of it is at the beginning, though.
Yeah, at the beginning it is the worst. The way the movie opens, we get like the all right, let's do this one last time. Funny they brought it back. It just shows Gwen's arc that we didn't get to see, you know, after the last movie ended. Everything she did after she got back to her world. You know, remember that throwaway line from the first movie where she said she joined a band? Yeah, that's this.
Yeah, that's the Mary Janes for all you comic book readers. There, this movie. We get to see her origin story too. When Peter dies, and that plays a really big role in her arc for this movie. And they retconned a thing from Into the Spider-Verse, which is fun. In Into the Spider-Verse, when we see Peter die, it's just the Peter B model. Like, it's the same model. They don't change him at all, even though he looks like he's 40. In this movie, they actually gave Peter B, not Peter B, Gwen's Peter, his own much younger looking, age appropriate model, and I think it looks good. I like this Peter's design. We get to see her life on her Earth when she just became Spider-Woman. You get to kind of get into her head and why she is the way she is in the last movie and at the beginning of this one. It's cool. I like it. I'm not a big Spider-Gwen fan in terms of the comic books, but these movies, but especially this one, are really selling me on her. Yeah, she's cool. I like Haley Steinfeld too. Yeah, she's great. Her performance here is great, I'd say.
Yeah, it's she's actually really good in this movie, and I think last time we talked about Into the Spider-Verse, we mentioned that back then, this is like a year ago, I think, is when they said that every different universe is gonna have a different art style, and they did deliver. I didn't notice it at first. I had to be pointed out a couple times, but did every universe does have a different art style. Gwen's art style is kind of like brushstroke paintings. It
Yep.
looks really, really nice. A lot of pink and yellow and white, which is her colors, obviously, on her suit.
It is a little much though. I like visually. I think of all the universes, Gwen's is the most like in your face, like with all like a lot of flashing colors and
No,
stuff.
no,
And I
no, I don't think so.
whose do you think it is?
The Indian one.
I mean, I guess, but I think like Spider-Man India's world is because it's muted, like the colors are more muted. It didn't like hurt my eyes, whereas Gwen's, I mean, it didn't hurt my eyes for her either, but I could see where people had problems with it there.
Yeah. I had a very, very hard time following whenever they were in what's it called? The Indian one? The Indian New York?
I don't remember.
This is just a note because in this episode I say the Indian world a lot. What I mean is Mumbattan. It's called Mumbattan. I don't know why I didn't look it up while we were recording, but I just looked it up. It's called Mumbattan. So every time I talk about the quote unquote Indian world, I'm talking about Mumbattan. But Spider-Man India's world, I had a very hard time following what was happening over there. But yeah, so after we see Gwen's origin and everything, a vulture from a different universe. This is from a universe where everything is written on parchment paper.
Yeah, they call him the Da Vinci Vulture.
Da Vinci Vulture, yeah.
Yeah, it's really funny, and he's obviously like a completely different art style himself, which is like we get like some of that in the first movie, where all the like Penny is a different art style, Peter Porker is a different art style, but they're kind of animated still the same way, or they're animated in the same way that Miles' universe is animated. But in this movie, everyone is their own art style, and they're all animated uniquely, and it's cool. I really liked Da Vinci Vulture. I thought he was super fun to watch interact with the world around him.
Yeah, the way this movie mixes in 3D animation, which is pretty much the whole movie, and then 2D animation with characters that are 2D animated. Like the Da Vinci Vulture, Spider Punk is 2D animated. One character that should have been 2D animated was a 3D model. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
but the way they do it, I've never seen it done like this before. I mean, we've seen mixing live action with animation before, obviously. I was about to say Into Roger Rabbit. Who framed Roger Rabbit?
The big one, right?
Into the Rogerverse. Yeah.
It's coming. It'll happen.
into the Looneyverse.
Into the Looneyverse.
Oh, that's kind of Animaniacs already, though.
True. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
That was the first movie to do live action mixed with animation. Or at least maybe it was the first feature length. I'm not sure the details. Steph can tell you, but ever since then, we've been mixing 2D. I mean, we've been mixing 3D animation with live action, sometimes 2D animation with live action, and now we're starting to mix in 3D animation with 2D animation, which has been done before. I mean, I can't really think of any examples off the top of my head, but it has been done before, but not to the extent that it's done in this movie.
Yeah, every time I've seen it before, it's usually like splicing in, like in anime, they'll splice in 3D models for like attacks and stuff. Like it happens a lot in Japanese animation, but usually not to this extent, and usually not this seamlessly. Like whatever, like I'll use Dragon Ball as an example because it's just I happened to see it in theaters. When Dragon Ball Super, all the Super movies came out, they usually like in fights they'll incorporate 3D models for like moments of impact for some reason, and it's very noticeable in those movies. And obviously it's noticeable here too, but it's noticeable in a different way, and it's so seamless that it looks like the 3D model belongs there, even though your eyes clearly tell you it's not the same, but it looks like it belongs.
And I should mention that Disney movies have been doing this technique. What do they call it? Deep canvas. But they never did. They've always done 2D characters in a 3D space. Because that's what Deep Canvas is. The first movie they used it in was Tarzan, which was in I think the 90s, and then they used it in Treasure Planet, The entire boat in Treasure Planet is a 3D model. That captain guy that turns out to be a twist villain, sorry for spoiling it, his entire robot arm, that's a 3D model. But they've never done what I don't think they've ever done what this movie has done, which is the movie's in a 3D space. The environments are 3D. The characters are in 3D, but they're animated to look like 2D, but they are 3D models. But some characters are just 2D drawings, like Spider-Punk. And he just looks perfect in the movie.
Yeah.
There's some other ones too in the background. There's so many.
Yeah, there's like so many spider people. But there's never a moment where aside from one, but it's very specific because it's not what I wanted. But
Yeah.
aside from Spectacular Spider-Man specifically, I don't think there's anybody I looked at and was like, you don't belong here. You like everyone looked fine. Even spoilers, Donald Glover's in this movie as the Prowler, the live action Prowler. And I didn't think he looked out of place.
There's even a cameo from Insomniac's Spider-Man from the PS4 games. They didn't animate him like with the style. It's just the 3D model from the game, from the PS5 version. It looks fine. It doesn't look like it stands out at all. I agree with Pat. The only one that stands out is Spectacular Spider-Man. Everybody knows this TV show. It's one of the best animated Spider-Man shows. I said it for you, Pat. There you go. He is a 3D model in this movie, and it looks really weird. It looks like you took him out of a PS3 game and you put him in the movie.
Yeah, I think the only reason he stands out though is because I think most people in the theater know who that is, and we all expected him to be 2D, right? It's jarring, but I don't think it's bad. It's just not what I wanted. And because I know where he's from and what he's supposed to look like, it's weird. Whereas, I think I would have felt the same way if Insomniac Spider-Man was 2D. I would have felt kind of weird about it. Maybe less so because comic books, like he's in the comics and shit, so I've seen him in a 2D space before. But I don't know, just Spectacular specifically was weird to see.
That's the only example I could think of the animation not working for me. But for everything else, everything looks great. The colors pop. The animation's very smooth. I'm pretty sure the entire movie's animated in 24 frames per second. There isn't any splicing going on like there was in the first movie. There might be in the action scenes because they're very smooth. Maybe they're animated a bit higher FPS. But either way, it looks fantastic. The movie visually is fantastic. One of the best looking movies I've ever seen. This is even including live action. One of the best looking movies I've ever seen. But yeah, so going back to, we went off on a tangent because we mentioned how Gwen's world was animated. So Gwen fights the Da Vinci Vulture, and this is when we are introduced to our two new characters in this movie. We got Miguel O'Hara as Spider-Man 2099.
And do I have things to say about Miguel O'Hara?
And we got Spider-Woman, who is on a sick motorcycle.
Yeah, Jessica Drew is in this movie. She's the pregnant version of Jessica from a couple years ago in the comics. She's here. She has a motorcycle. I think it's interesting that Miguel's chosen number 2 is also the only other big spider person who doesn't have the same powers as Peter Parker. But we'll get into that, because I think Miguel is a liar, and we'll talk about that when we get into the story. But yeah, Jessica's cool. I think of the new introduced characters, she's probably my least favorite. She's not really given too much to do here, which is unfortunate. But I definitely do get the feeling that she'll be more relevant in Beyond the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, probably. Same with Miguel. He's still relevant in this movie, but only in the latter half.
Yeah. He's not the main villain, obviously. That's Spot, who we'll get to.
Yeah, I thought he would be. I thought he would be the main villain.
But he is an antagonist.
When we I mean, we could go straight to that because now we're back in Miles's world. When we first saw that clip that they put to advertise the movie that showed the Spot, I was like, oh, that's just one of his like, random enemies he fights just as being Spider-Man, oh look, random guy, he's robbing a store, let's stop him. No, it turns out he's the main villain of this movie.
And it turns out that statement is the plot.
Yeah.
That's it. Is the Spot got insulted by Miles telling him that he's the villain of the week. Well, he's not. He's gonna kill his dad and the universe and
His
everybody.
origin is fucking hilarious.
It's so good. It's so funny.
It's so good. Remember in the first movie when Peter and Miles broke into Oscorp? No, Fisk Industries.
Not broke into Miguel's company. And what's his name? Shit. Let me look it up.
Roxxon?
Not Roxxon. For the sake of the conversation, we'll just call it Fisk's Industry. It's not, but
they Alchemex. That's it. Yeah. Okay, so when they broke into Alchemex, Peter grabbed a bagel and threw it at someone's head. That's the Spot.
That was him.
The guy who got hit by the bagel. That's him. And then they when they broke the fusion reactor or whatever it was, the fusion collider, he turned into the Spot.
Yeah, he happened to be within range of the explosion, and he turned into the Spot. And that's his evil origin story.
That's hilarious. Like a small throwaway joke.
It's funny because it's dumb, but it works so well for this franchise.
Yeah, I mean, like it just works well for comic book bullshit in general.
But it's just really silly. And I love the back and forth between Miles and him throughout that whole chase, and then even like when Miles' dad gets involved. It's just really funny. I think they did a good job at making Spot be like a goober, and then they flip it, then he becomes this like really intimidating, actually kind of a threat later in the movie. I really liked him here. I was a little worried because, one, how do you follow Kingpin, right? And like, two, how do you follow Kingpin with a goober, like B-list, not even like Peter fought him like twice maybe, like this nothing villain, and now he's the lead. Like, how are you gonna? And they did it so well. I'm really impressed with him. His performance is great too.
The Spot is voiced by Jason Schwartzman. That was such a great pick, Pat. He's Gideon in Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, he is perfect. He's in a lot of Wes Anderson movies. I think he's in all of them, if I'm not mistaken. He's like Bill Murray, He was the perfect choice. His voice fits like perfectly for someone who like is trying to be noticed as a villain by a superhero.
Yeah, not here too. It's basically the same thing. It's really funny.
He's just introduced as this fucking nobody. And then halfway through the movie, he finds out that he can go between dimensions using his many holes. And then he just becomes like a Thanos type world ender.
Yeah, but it's like, it's believable because he's like, you know what? Like, I'm not just the villain of the week. I'm gonna prove it.
Yeah, he's doing this to spite that one thing that Miles told him.
Yeah, like he's not just evil for the sake of being evil, but he's just doing it all out of spite, and that's really funny.
In between Miles fighting Spot every now and then at the very beginning of the movie, we see a lot of characterization for his parents, a lot of characterization for him himself, and like, the surrounding neighborhood and everything. Things I wanted to see in this movie. I'm sure Pat also wanted to see. He loves seeing street level stuff.
Yeah, I love seeing street level stuff, and I love just seeing New York being a character and being incorporated into the Spider-Man mythos, especially after the MCU has kind of forgotten that aspect of Spider-Man.
Yeah,
it was nice to just go back to see Miles, one, just be a kid, with having his own life, his own struggles, and also just see New York band together and be part of Spider-Man's life. It's something I really liked about the first movie, and I really loved here. I loved the opening act with him, just trying to make it on time for his interview with with Debbie Downer, his guidance counselor. And then, he has to bring a cake to the party, but he's running late because the Spot is interrupting him. He has arguments with his parents, and they feel very realistic. His parents don't like that people like Gwen and Genki call them by their first name. Like it's just they're so they're so real, you know. They're so well characterized here.
Like when like like at the ending of the first movie, Miles saves his dad dressed as Spider-Man, but he doesn't want to tell him, and there's like this really cute thing that they have going between Spider-Man and his dad. What's his dad's name? His last name's Jeffers, but I forgot it.
Jefferson Davis.
Jefferson. Oh, his first name's Jefferson. I thought that was his last name. Yeah, and like there's this really cute conversation that Jefferson has with Spider-Man, and he's like, well, maybe you should get off your kid's ass.
Yeah, he does it in like the deep voice. He's like, I gotta go. I didn't say anything, you know. Like it's really funny.
It's really funny. Not a video game podcast, but one of the biggest things one of the best things I liked about the Miles Morales game was a lot of the side quests were just you helping people in your neighborhood, and if you did all of the side quests, you got a secret ending. I won't spoil it. It's really, really nice. I love that Miles is so like in tune with his neighborhood. They live in Harlem, and Harlem's a very cultural area of New York, and they really let that shine in the game and in this movie too. We're done talking about the game, but not a video game podcast. They really let it shine, and it really shows in the scene where they're throwing a roof party. And like Pat mentioned before, he's got to bring the cakes, but he's running late, and then he brought them, but they were messed up when he got there. And like everybody on the roof knows everybody, like they're all a big community. It's really nice to see. I love that the movies are doing this.
Yeah, like New York is such an important aspect of Spider-Man's characters. I know the Raimi movies, one, I talk about them a lot, maybe too much, but also a lot of people kind of view those movies as kind of cheesy and maybe a little bit cringe. But like I love the scenes in like those movies where like Spider-Man 2 when Peter's knocked down against Doc Ock on the train and like all the people in the train stand in front of him. You got to get through us, and like the scene in Amazing Spider-Man 1, like the crane scene where all the earlier in the movie, Peter saved a construction worker's daughter, and then later that same construction worker comes back with all his colleagues to help Spider-Man, who's injured, swing across the city. I love moments like that in these movies, and the MCU has just not delivered on those moments, right? But this movie, the first one too, but especially this movie, just made New York feel alive like a character, and I loved it. I loved it so much.
Yeah, it was so nice to see. But then, surprise, Gwen is here. What? How did she get here? And she's trying to scout out the spot, but she stopped by to see her good friend Miles. That was her mistake.
There's one thing I wanted to point out too about Gwen being there, and I think it's really cool. I mean, it hurts when you see how the movie ends. But the first movie, Miles was all like very art forward. Being artistic was his passion. His love for music, his love for street art was whatever he put forward. That's how he connected with his family. And then you come to this movie, and suddenly he's like super science obsessed, and he wants to go to this prestigious school because he wants to learn how to cross dimensions. And you realize that he just wanted to do that because he just missed Peter and Gwen and everybody. And then you see how it ends, and my heart is crushed. I think it's an interesting path to take Miles down while making him still feel unique. Because you can listen to the first movie's episode to hear me talk about Miles in the comics. I'm not going to get into that here. But I really like how Into the Spider-Verse breathed new life into Miles Morales as a character. And I like this movie continuing to make him feel unique from Peter and just making him feel like his own person. And I think this movie does it well while also tying it into the multiverse stuff from the first movie and him wanting to reconnect with his friends. Because he loved them, and he would give up his passions to see them again. And if only that was true the other way around. Haha.
Haha. A scene hurt because she opened a collectible. Ooh.
I've seen so many people like physically wince. That happened like on Twitter. It's so funny.
In the theater. Theater, that like she opened the box and the sound, everybody in the theater like, oh, don't do that.
Oh, the value's gone. It's over. This girl better be worth it, Miles.
But they reconnect a little bit, and then it's revealed that has just been spying on Spot. And now Miles feels left out, poor him, and sneaks into the spider world.
He sneaks into India.
He sneaks into India.
Yeah, so this is where we find out about Miguel's mission, basically. His story is as of right now, at that point of the movie, he's just trying to keep an eye on the spot because the spot is not a canon event, and we'll get into that too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Later. And he's trying to hop dimensions, and we need to stop that. So they sent Gwen because Gwen knows the area. I'm sure Miguel regrets that in hindsight. But while Gwen was there, she did make a stop to see our boy. And I just want to point out, I'm not going to do this for every scene I love, just because we'll literally be here all day. And we have other things to talk about. But I loved the scene of Miles and Gwen swinging through the city, and they play Mona Lisa during that scene. It's just really cool. They have such a smooth dynamic, and it was such a visual like pleasure to watch. Spot is now hopping from his universe to the other worlds of the Spider-Verse, and Miles sneaks along, and that's how he gets kind of put into the plot, the main plot of the movie.
Yeah, we meet Spider-Man India.
Yeah, Paviter. I can't pronounce it properly. We meet Spider-Man India. We meet his world, which, continuing along with how New York is portrayed in Miles' universe, I feel like his world is very populated. It feels very alive. We're introduced to his girlfriend, his equivalent to Captain Stacy. I bring that up specifically because it's going to come up later. They make his world feel alive too, and I appreciate that, because one thing I don't really like about the first movie is, like, we're introduced to Spider-Man Noir and Penny and whatever, and Spider-Ham, but, like, we don't get to know them. They're just in the movie.
We don't see their worlds either.
Yeah, but this movie does a much better job. We get to see Gwen's world finally, because she's in the first movie. So we go back to her. We see Spider-Man India's world. We see Peter B. Parker, who comes back. We go back to his world with his MJ, and we get to see stuff from her. We see 2099's world. We see a lot more of the characters in their own environment, and I think it does a lot better for them individually.
Now we're in New York, Indian New York. I can't remember what they called it, and it looks amazing. It's very visually striking. Again, had a very hard time following the movie when they were in there. The conversations that Spider-Man India has with has with Miles is they're really funny. There's this joke about chai tea. Well, chai.
Chai.
Yeah, just chai.
That joke was in the pre-release footage. Like, it was in trailers and stuff. People have like to joke that Paviter is the Spider-Man that beat depression, and I think that's really funny.
That's true.
They also really single out I've been Spider-Man for 6 months, and Miles like, he was invited to the super special elite team. I've been Spider-Man for a year. We forgot to mention that this movie takes place about a year after Into the Spider-Verse. It's a year and a couple months. So Miles has been doing his thing for a little while. Just found out about the super secret elite, apparently very small, but not really, strike force of spider people. And Paviter was invited, even though he's only been Spider-Man for 6 months. But he's really good. I like how unique he is with his web singing compared to the others. He has he has like a wristband that he uses with his webs to fling around and hit people with, and also do acrobatic tricks. It's really cool. I like his design a lot. I think it's a huge step up from the comics, which is a low bar, because his comic book outfit is literally just Peter's suit, basically, with waist robes. I think his design here is really cool. Spider-Punk is also introduced in this segment. His design is fantastic. I love how he's animated. We spoke about it earlier as well. He's really, really awesome. I love their dynamic. That's just one thing in general. I think the group here, like I'm gonna call them the 4 kids, because they're children and they don't have supervision. I love them as a group. I think they're a much tighter knit group than the Into the Spider-Verse team. I love them a lot. I like that that Hobie is this agent of chaos, but he's just a chill dude, and like, he's just Miles's, like, they're like best buds right off the bat, even though Miles is kind of jealous of him at first. He just like Hobie just is just a chill dude. He just wants to be Miles's buddy, and he does a lot throughout the movie. We'll get into it to kind of help Miles. And he's also the first person who starts to plant seeds into why you shouldn't trust Miguel and the Spider Society thing. It's kind of played off as a joke, obviously, because he's like this anarchist who like fuck the system. I do things my own way. But he ends up being right. So maybe we should have listened to him from the start. I have this whole thing about Miguel I'll get into when we get there. I don't think Miguel is a reliable source, one, or trustworthy. So that's going to be interesting to get into. But yeah, Hope is great. Paviter is great. But more importantly, what happens in the Spider-Man India segment of the movie is we're introduced to canon events, the main focal point of this story.
And a plot point that apparently a lot of people don't understand. It's really easy to get.
Yeah, nobody on Twitter understands the canon event thing, and I think you didn't watch the movie. The movie is very direct on what a canon event is. I'll just explain it briefly to the audience if you haven't seen the movie and you're still listening to this, even though we're like 40 minutes in. Hello to you.
Thanks for watching.
A canon event is just it's an event in history that happens to every Spider person. People don't have their own unique canon events. It's a thing that happens to everybody.
You have to lose somebody. That's it.
You have to lose somebody. You have to lose a police captain. You have to lose a family member. It's stuff like that. It's not like, oh, like I saw someone post like, oh, MCU Peter has 2 canon events. Like, no, he also lost Aunt May. That just happens, right? Like, it's not a canon event that May dies. That's not what like canon events mean. The movie is very, very direct about it. It's not that complicated.
So, what's going on here is that the Spot attacks India, New York, and then the captain of the police force and his girlfriend are in danger. And this is his canon event. His canon event is to pick his girlfriend, and then the captain will die.
And Gwen knows this. Hobie knows this. Miles doesn't.
Yeah, Miles doesn't because no one explained it to him. So Miles saved the captain while Peter saved his girlfriend. So his canon event didn't happen. And because of that, his world, his universe started crumbling.
That's what Miguel says. And I know obviously I'm picking a fight with a fictional character who cannot fight back. And I'm sure this will be expanded on more in Beyond. But I don't think Miguel is right about what happens when a canon event is prevented. Because there's lots of canon events that apply here or don't happen, but there's no repercussion for. So I don't think Miguel is a reliable narrator, and I think he's just angry and he's stricken with grief, and that's why he's being a dickhead. He's not actually right. So the problem here with Spider-Man India's world collapsing, when Miles fights the Spot earlier, he gets like I'm gonna call it a "That's So Raven" moment, a flash forward, where he sees the police captain die and he sees his father dying in a similar situation. That is expanded upon later. But the reason things happen in Spider-Man India's world is not because Miles saves the captain, but the canon was already disrupted to begin with because the Spot shouldn't have been there to begin with. And Miguel seems to say that, yeah, he was. That is a canon event. But he can't be. Because he only exists because of Miles, who he later admits is an anomaly. So therefore, everything that happens as a result of Miles existing is also an anomaly, not canon. So the Spot couldn't have been planned to be there. And so it brings a lot of what Miguel says into question. But also another big point. Yeah, sorry, I'm a loser. I apologize. But another big point of contention of why I don't agree with Miguel is, and the movie doesn't go into this because we don't learn a lot about Miguel, but a canon event for Spider-Man is getting bit by the spider, right? That doesn't happen to Miguel. He doesn't have spider powers. He's never bitten. He's a lab experiment that he conducted on himself. But he's never bitten. He can't climb walls. He doesn't have webs. He doesn't have a spider sense. Miguel is not Spider-Man for all intents and purposes, right? So you don't necessarily get canon events either then, right? And also, to add to the insanity, okay, if Miles is an anomaly, then he doesn't get canon events either, right? So he can save his father, in theory. And we know this is true Because Earth 42, which again, I know I'm jumping around, but Earth 42 is fine without a Spider-Man. But Spider-Man's supposed to be a canon event, right? So Miguel is either lying or wrong. There's no in between. So everything Miguel says, I think, needs to be put into question.
Well, I'm sure we'll find out once Beyond comes out. That's probably gonna clarify things.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's a plot hole. I think it's Miguel is lying or wrong.
No, I think this movie's too careful for it to be a plot hole.
I think this is all intentional. It's all planned because they make a point to whenever Miguel explains things or whenever Miles argues back, they make a point to point out facts. But also another thing, and this is something Steph Toonman pointed out to me, when Spider-Man India's world collapses versus when Miguel's world, what he replaced himself in, collapsed, are two very different things. But Miguel's acting as if it's the same event that happened, and how they dealt with it is the same one. But they're clearly different. So I don't think we can trust Miguel's word as a matter of fact, you know. But anyway, that's for a little bit later.
No, because you're right. I didn't really like piece this together, but Miles. The movie kind of says this, Miles was never supposed to be Spider-Man in the first place.
Yeah.
The Peter in his universe was supposed to stay Spider-Man. Peter died because of Miles. He slowed him down, and the spider that bit Miles was from a different universe.
Yeah. So Miles shouldn't be Spider-Man. He's an anomaly, as stated by Miguel. So does Miles also does he also have to play by the same rules? We don't know. Because Miguel is similar. And he's also technically he's not an anomaly. That's not what I'm saying. But he skipped canon events too. He's not Spider-Man the same way the canon says he's supposed to. So Miguel did it. Miles is doing it his own way. But we need to. This is kind of a it's cool because there's a lot to talk about, a lot to dissect. But it's also kind of a negative for the movie because these answers are going to be in part 2. We're not going to see part 2 for a long time, so we're kind of left just to wonder, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But I think for a movie to be complete, which it makes the movie not complete. It feels like a part 1. It feels like an Empire Strikes Back versus Into the Spider-Verse. But yeah, that's my my tangent about Miguel and the whole canon. I think Miguel is not a trustworthy narrator, and I'm looking forward to seeing where things go. Because I definitely do think we're gonna save Miles' dad, but I don't think it'll be without consequence.
Yeah, because Miles is the reason why he wasn't let into the Spider People Society is because his canon event didn't happen yet. His canon event was his dad dying.
Well, no, it's not because his canon event didn't happen. He wasn't invited because he shouldn't exist as far as Miguel is concerned. He's an anomaly, so that's why he wasn't invited. He's a Spider-Man who was bit, like you said, by a spider from another universe. And in his universe, Peter was supposed to be Spider-Man. Peter should have been there, not Miles. So that's why he wasn't invited. And then he also created the Spot, which is gonna destroy the Spider-Verse or something, probably. So that's why Miles wasn't invited. I think he's an interesting parallel to Miguel because on paper they're the same.
And actually, the scene where speaking of canon events, the scene where he explains what a canon event is, they actually show clips from the live action movies. They show in the background there were clips of the original Spider-Man cartoon, the '60s one. A lot of Easter eggs here. This is one. I think I don't like those kinds of Easter eggs. I like references and little things like that, but I don't like in-your-face Easter eggs. I don't really know how to explain it, but a good example from this movie is when they showed Tom Holland. That's just an Easter egg. He was just Miguel was just using that as an example to show Miles what a canon event is. But to the audience, it's a plug for Disney, you know?
Yeah, we also see Toby and Andrew as well.
Yeah, like obviously their canon events was Uncle Ben.
Uncle Ben and Captain Stacy.
Yeah.
And
Tom Holland's was Iron Man. I like the little references. Like how Insomniac Spider-Man had a little cameo. Those are the references I like. The references I don't like are the ones that are only there probably because Disney showed up to the studio one day, was like, "Hey, are you gonna put our Spider-Man in the movie?" And they're like, Yeah. He'll be in it. It feels corporate.
I think it like I think it's a like I'm more on the opposing, not the opposing side, but in the middle, where I don't mind that they're there. I like that they're there because they're references, but there's literally a shot of Andrew Garfield holding Captain Stacy, and it's the center frame, and it's in the middle. It's huge. Like, it's not a blink and you miss it Easter egg. It's you're staring at it. You know it's there. They want you to know it's there.
It was the exact same thing with Tom Holland. It's just like center shot. Miles is just staring at Tom Holland, crying over Iron Man. Like, would you look at that? A canon event, you know? Like, but this is a small complaint. I'm nitpicking.
Yeah, kind of. But I get it. It's very in your face and handholdy, and some audiences don't want to be held like they have their hand held, which is fine.
Yeah, and like it just felt weird because this movie doesn't hold your hand. This movie even caters to people who have read the comics, which most movies don't, you know? So like this is a very not handholdy movie. Like you could even watch this without having seen the first movie.
Yeah, you could jump right into this one. It tells it's like it's there obviously there's ties to the first one, but it tells you what you need to know. So you could definitely jump in here. But then there's moments like that where they're like in your face, like this is a reference, look at it,
Yeah, and it's like, oh great, now everybody on the internet's gonna say, when are we getting Miles in the MCU?
Well, it's funny you say that because after this movie came out, they did confirm that we will be getting a live action Miles Morales at some point. And even Tom Holland does put his hat in the ring on that conversation. I'm sure it'll happen, especially now that we've seen Donald Glover as the Prowler. I don't think we're actually going to see him be the Prowler in a movie, but I do think him being in this movie as the Prowler is more evidence that Miles will be introduced sooner rather than later in the MCU, which I'm fine with for the most part. I would love if we get some Peter and Miles movies before they just murder Tom Holland's character. But, we'll see when we get there. Please don't cast Jaden Smith as Miles Hollywood. I know what you are. Don't do it.
Jaden Smith?
Yeah, a lot of people are pointing at Jaden Smith. Please don't. Get a more talented, younger actor, please, and give him a future. Make him be Spider-Man. Don't get Jaden Smith.
At around this point is where we're also reintroduced to Peter B. Parker. He's back and he has a kid.
I love him. I love Mayday. Squish the baby. It'll solve all our problems, okay? Just hold her. Hold her.
Just hold the baby.
We'll come to a mutual understanding if you hold my baby.
This is also where we see Spectacular Spider-Man. He says something to Miles. God, I keep getting them mixed up. There's so many spider people in this movie.
This is like Spider overload. I think there's like something of like 200 spider people, they said.
I don't know. I don't remember like what they call it in the movie. I'm just gonna call it the Spider Hub. In the Spider Hub, every time we see a new character, they have like this little nameplate above their head that says like their name and what Earth they're from. Cool. That's really nice. We see there's a Scarlet Spider. We see Ben.
Don't like how he's portrayed here. Really don't like how he's portrayed here.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. I thought it was okay. I thought he was hilarious.
It's just a joke about how the 90s are terrible. I kind of wish they did something else with him. Because Ben currently in the comics is awful and terrible and I hate it.
But he's the edgy Spider-Man.
But he's not, though. He was in the 90s, but he's not now.
Yeah, but that's when he was cool.
He is now, too, because comics are terrible. But there was a time between the 90s and now where he wasn't.
When was the peak of his comics? Was it in the 90s?
I mean, yes.
Then there you go.
but he wasn't. My past. I'm brooding. He was never like that.
Like Miles in this movie is not like Miles in the comics.
Yeah, but Miles was better than the comics. This is worse. He's gonna be in Beyond because he's part of Miguel's elite.
He's part of the team. You know who else is part of Miguel's elite team? The Lego Spider-Man.
The best of all of us.
He's the best of all of us. I played as that guy. I played as him. That's why I feel this connection to the Lego Spider-Man. Not only have I built him multiple times, I've played as him in the games. He's my Spider-Man.
His whole segment, which is also at the beginning, really kind of brushed over it because there's a lot to talk about with this movie. Yeah, that whole segment in the Lego universe and every scene he's in after that, which isn't much, but he is around, is all animated by a 14-year-old kid. Good for him.
Like I remember growing up, like in the early days of YouTube, watching like those stop motion animation Lego videos. I can't remember who made them. I think he had like a 101 in his name and it started with an F. Like those videos were like my childhood. Here's another editor's note. So I found the YouTuber that used to do those Lego stop motion videos. Well, I say used to, but he actually still does it. His name is Forest Fire 101, but with two R's. And I also just found out, like literally right now, that he also is the guy that made the Duck song. Shout out to Forest Fire 101, still going strong with the Lego stop motion videos. That guy made my childhood. You guys should check that out. And it really reminded me of that. It was stop motion. You know, it's not like the Lego movie where it was CG, but they made it to look like stop motion. The Lego segments in this movie were actually stop motion. They were animated by a 14-year-old, and like, wow, that's crazy impressive. He's got a whole career ahead of him.
It's good. Like, it's a good part of the movie. Again, it doesn't feel out of place. It's like, yeah, this belongs here. And then, you know, he appears 2 other times later in the movie, and like one of them is like he's so small.
He's tiny. He's a Lego.
He's tiny, but it's good. It's just, I'm really happy for him. I hope he has a very successful future ahead of him.
Yeah. And another spider person in the elite group is this virtual spider woman.
Yeah, Spider. Her name is Spider Bite.
Spider Bite.
I thought she was made for this movie, but she does come from the comics.
Oh, really? I thought she was unique too. Yeah, so she's basically like Sword Art Online Spider. She's like she's just like a hologram, and the real person is wearing a VR headset. I don't think she has superpowers. The hologram has superpowers.
Yeah, the hologram does. She doesn't.
Yeah, the actual person sitting in the chair doesn't. Oh, speaking of sitting in the chair, Genki's in the movie, and he makes a joke where he's like, "I'm not your guy in the chair, man."
And it's good because Ned stole everything from Genki.
Yeah, I wonder what they're like the for the live action Miles Morales, because Genki's character has been taken over by Ned. So is there gonna be a Genki?
Probably.
It'll
just be Ned. They'll bring him back.
You think Ned's just gonna become friends with Miles because he's not friends with Peter anymore?
It'll be weird because Ned's gonna be like 30 and Miles will be like 14, and they'll just have a friendship.
But yeah, I don't think there's anyone else in the elite group.
Yeah, no, it's Jessica. I mean, Spider Bite's not part of the elite group, but she's important in the Spider Society.
Well, yeah, she brings people back to their universes.
Yeah, they have this big machine that's just a giant spider that puts you in a cocoon and ships you off back home, which does play a role in the story here. And the big twists at the end for all 3 of you who didn't see that coming. We'll get there. Yeah, Spider Bite's cool. There's tons and tons of other spider people from references we understand, like 60s Spider-Man and Cowboy Spider-Man if you read the comics. And there's like Metro Boomin Spider-Man, the guy who did the album for this movie. He has a spider with a voice line. He speaks, and he's in this movie. You know, Yuri Lowenthal comes back to voice Spectacular. There's tons and tons of characters voicing in this movie or in the background. I'm sure everybody can find their spider person within this movie somewhere, and it's great. I loved it. I was worried it would be overcrowded, and I'm pleasantly surprised that it wasn't.
There were a lot of spider people that were just straight like made up as background characters that don't speak in this movie. So they're not all from the comics, probably because they use most of them.
Yeah, I think this movie does use a lot of the big ones. There's a couple big ones that didn't make the cut. So I'm excited to see them in Beyond, as I'm sure they will be.
Where there's a notable live action Japanese man who was not in this movie,
and he better be in the next one.
and like, so after all this gets explained to Miles, he's like, "My dad's gonna die," and pulls a tantrum. So he tries to go back to his world to save his dad, and this is like pretty much the entire climax of the first ending is him trying to escape the spider hub with the help of Peter B. Parker.
Yep, Peter B. like confronts him while they're still inside the Spider Society, and they have a good moment because Miles is basically led to believe at this point that they all could have come to see him because they all have these like watches to let them freely to travel through the multiverse without glitching. So he's kind of led to believe that they all could have come to see him and chose not to. And to a degree, that's kind of true, but it's also because Miguel basically forbids them from going there because he's an anomaly because he destroyed the multiverse essentially. But I think he and Peter B have he and Miles have a really good moment where, and this is another thing where Miguel is a liar. He's stinky because Peter B admits straight up the only reason he has Mayday, who is canon. Mayday is a spider person. Okay, the only reason Mayday exists is because of Miles. So she wouldn't be there. She would not get Peter would not have gone back together with MJ if not for Miles, who according to Miguel shouldn't exist. So Mayday's birth is a canon event for Peter. So, but that wouldn't happen without Miles.
Is it really Miles that broke the multiverse? Because I think it's more Kingpin that broke the multiverse.
Well, it's more Kingpin, but I mean, it's more. I guess it's the Spot's fault because he's the one who actually got the spider. Because the whole problem isn't like the ruining of the. I mean, yeah, the Kingpin opens the multiverse, but where Miguel's problem begins is when Miles is bitten by Earth 42's spider, because that's where everything goes downhill. But Miles is part of the canon now, so we'll see what happens. You know, we'll see where that goes. Because there's a lot of things that just don't happen without Miles, and if he's an anomaly, then history is fucked.
Yeah,
it's already fucked. Or maybe you can fight the canon. Maybe the canon isn't set. Maybe things can happen, like maybe you're not bitten by a radioactive spider and you do experiments on yourself and become Spider-Man in the future because you realize the world needs a Spider-Man and Peter Parker's dead. Huh, Miguel? Isn't that the case, idiot? Yeah, Miguel's interesting because he's wrong.
And like the whole chase scene of Miles trying to escape, it is so good. It's so good. Like it's like the best example of the great animation from this movie.
It's also just like a lot of fun. It's the fun scene.
Yeah, you see like there's like an actual wave of spider people, like an ocean of people trying to catch Miles.
And like I understand that like the spider sense as a superpower is broken, and a Spider-Man on the defensive has a lot more of an advantage than a Spider-Man on the offensive because of the spider sense. So I get that. But Miles held his own and got away. Like he won the battle against 200 spider people. Some of them tried to kill him. So like the spider sense is broken. But Miles is pretty good at what he does too. He's a good kid. And you know who taught him all that? My man with the baby.
He taught him everything he knows.
Maybe he's not a bad mentor after all.
So Gwen gets her hand on a watch because she's sent back to her world near the begin, like not near, like near the middle, because she's like trying to help Miles and like all this shit happens.
Yeah, she's essentially punished for like what happened with Miles. She gets penalized for it.
So Hobie made her a watch. You can actually see in the background of the scenes Hobie taking pieces of shit to build the watch. He's written out of the story about halfway through.
Yeah, like as soon as they get to the Spider Society, basically, like he like steals the materials to make the watch, and then as soon as they start chasing Miles, he like, I'm out. I don't care.
Yeah, like literally.
That's my goat. I'm not chasing him. I'm leaving.
Yeah, so he makes her a watch. So she uses it to go back to Miles' universe because she's like, okay, he's trying to get back. I'll beat him there and meet him there so we could talk or whatever. So then she goes back to his universe. And then Miles uses the giant machine spider thing and his invisibility to escape back to his universe. His universe. The way the machine works is it sends you back to the universe that the spider was from. The spider that bit you. So he's not sent back to his Earth, which is where Gwen is there waiting for him. He's sent back to Earth 42, the Earth without a Spider-Man.
Which, according to Miguel, shouldn't exist.
Yeah, that's a good point. But it looks exactly like Miles's world, except it's always raining.
Yeah, and in that universe, instead of Uncle Aaron being dead, it's Miles's dad. And Aaron isn't the Prowler.
Who's the Prowler, Pat?
Who knows? Miles is the Prowler.
Yeah, Miles is the Prowler.
Which, fun fact, I had this conversation with two men after the movie, like off, like we're just chilling.
With two men?
Toon Man,
Oh.
not two men. With Toon Man.
I was like, oh, good for you.
I have two friends, guys. But yeah, so I was talking with Steph, and like, we know that Miles is the Prowler in this universe. And we know that like the Sinister Six is this big like crime syndicate, and like this world went to shit without a Spider-Man. Miguel seems to imply this too, but we don't know that Miles in that universe is a bad guy, like a villain, right? Obviously, he's a little more aggressive, to say the least, because we see him interact with this universe as Miles. He clearly has no problem attacking Miles, but I don't think that he's a bad guy. I don't think he's a villain. For all of you who bought the art book that came out for Spider-Verse 2 that came out like last week, we have confirmation now that he's not a villain. He's a vigilante. So I was right. He's a daredevil.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. We forgot to mention that Miles escaping the spider people and using the machine, that's the first ending of the movie.
Yeah, that's the first ending. And I really thought like he would have landed in his universe and we would have got credits. And maybe the after credits scene would have been Gwen with her dad, which comes later, or Gwen building the team. But no.
That's the ending of Across the Spider-Verse to me. And what we are seeing after that is the prequel to Beyond the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, that whole segment is it's Peter talking with, well, it happens a little bit before, but Peter goes back to his universe and talks with MJ, and he kind of gets the drive to get back out there, and because he sides with Miguel for the most part. But after everything that happened with Miles, he like starts to doubt himself. And I really like the line, like it happens again, it happens earlier when Gwen is sent back home. She says we're supposed to be the good guys, and then Peter B kind of takes a second to reflect. Because Miguel's kind of acting like a kingpin, like a villain, right? So we cut back to after ending one with Miles in what he thinks is his universe, but is actually Earth 42. And we also go back to Gwen's universe one last time for a really, really nice moment where once again the canon breaks. Miguel, canon's broken again because Gwen goes back home and we find out that Captain Stacy quit after he fought with his daughter earlier in the movie. He doesn't believe in it anymore, basically.
Because he quit the Force because he doesn't want to arrest his daughter. It's a really nice scene.
And so it was a really needed scene too. I really like earlier in the movie where like, because Gwen's universe is all like paintbrush style, the scene where like she, right before he pulls out the gun, Gwen is painted very brightly pink, white, like her colors, while her father is completely black. He's looking down, and he pulls the gun, and it's completely dark. This scene at the end starts the same way, where he's completely dark and she's bright, vibrant, and then he's like, I quit. Like I couldn't do it anymore. As of today, I'm not a captain, and he brightens up. Now he's a friend again, right? Now he's someone we can trust. And they have this beautiful hug, and it's great. I love that scene so much.
Yeah, it's a really, really nice scene. And then right after, we have Miles trying to get back to his house, and he builds up the courage to tell his parents that he's Spider-Man. So he does it. And his parents are like, who the fuck is this Spider-Man?
Is that a thing from Comic-Con?
Aaron's alive. Hold on a second. Things might be a bit weird. Aaron knocks him out. Okay, that's a bit much. There's another Miles. He's the Prowler. This is the wrong universe.
We also, while that's happening, we see Gwen go to Miles' house in his universe, and he's not there.
And then she's like, oh my god, Miles is in the wrong universe. Because everybody knows that Miles the Spider is from a different universe. So she's like, oh my god, he's in the wrong universe. I don't know if the movie had to tell us that. As soon as Miles got back to that universe and he landed on the ground, there was a giant 42 on the ground. And you're like, oh, this is the wrong universe. He's in the wrong universe. Like, I knew it. Like, everybody in the theater probably knew it right away.
I mean, there's some people who maybe they didn't pick up on it and would have complained. I don't think they needed to say it.
And they spent a long time on it too. Like the prequel part, I'm going to call it the prequel part. The prequel part of the movie was a bit too long, in my opinion. That made me lower my score. We didn't talk about our scores, but we'll talk about it later. That ending part made me lower my score by quite a bit big margin. Just because I don't like forced cliffhangers. We were talking about Lord of the Rings earlier. That movie ends in a pretty huge forced cliffhanger, and like it's something you see normally in TV shows. You know, like Game of Thrones did it almost every fucking episode. It was fine because it's a TV show. Like, you know that next week you're going to have the follow-up. For here, in a movie, we're not even sure if the release date they have set now is going to be the permanent one. We don't know if the movie's even going to come out in 9 months. They say it's going to come out in 9 months, but it could get delayed. It might get delayed. We could have the part 2 of this movie in 2 years. And for those 2 years, the only thing we'll have is this movie. That's why my rating, you're gonna hear it later, that's why my rating is kind of low compared to everybody else's. It's a great movie, but I feel like too much of it feels like a prequel, a predecessor, a setup for the next movie.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
This ending part is very, very interesting. It's got me hooked. But that's what I don't like about it. I'm hooked on it. I want to know what happens next. I desperately want to know what happens next. But I can't. I can't know what happens next until I wait a year. You know? Yeah. That's what I mean by false cliffhanger. It's okay to have cliffhangers. I like cliffhangers, but forced cliffhangers. Like the movie could have ended 20 minutes before the movie actually ended.
I mean, it would have been too long for an after credits scene, but they could have started the build up and the after credits, and then the movie beyond could have started, you know, there. But I don't know. I agree to an extent, but I also I can't think of an alternative in my head on how they could have done that without.
I have an alternative.
What's the alternative?
So my alternative is the movie ends with Gwen, you know, like and the scene with Gwen and her dad, you know, them reconciling, and then she gets the watch that Hobie made, and then beep boop boop, and she goes to Miles's universe, and then we see Miles in the rainy universe, not Raimi, the rainy universe, Earth 42, and like, you know, he's like swinging around trying to find his way home, but he doesn't make it home. For this ending to work, he doesn't make it home. So then Gwen goes to Miles' room, is like, where's Miles, and then she checks her watch doohickey and, like, you know, does whatever, and she's like, oh god, he's in the wrong universe. End it there.
I don't think that's a bad alternative, but I think it's important that we see Earth 42 Miles, because he's clearly going to be important in the next one.
Yeah, obviously. So show him in the next one, right? I don't think you needed to show him for this ending to work.
I think it's clickbait, but like it adds that extra kick, you know.
Like, I feel like that extra kick, the clickbait, would be Miles being in the wrong universe. And then you have the people who read the comics going on Twitter being, like, super excited because, guys, in the next movie, we're going to see Prowler Miles.
Well, that's not a thing in the comic.
Oh, it's not? I thought it was. Whatever. Then it has everybody questioning then.
But I think, like, if that exact same setup and like it ends with him swinging, but maybe he doesn't make it home, but he's still intercepted by Prowler Miles. Like like for me, I think the ending works because we see Prowler, and I don't think it would have hit the same. Like, because I feel like the oh no, he's in another universe thing. It's like, yeah, we know. Like we didn't need to be told that because we get it, we understand, we're not stupid. But I think like it hits home. Like, and we realize, oh, this is a fucking problem when we see Prowler Miles or when we see Davis alive, right? That's when we're like, oh shit, yeah, okay. He's not just in another universe. He's like, oh, like this is a problem now. And I feel like we need that, like, it's a problem moment. And him just swinging doesn't really give you that.
I would even take them not even showing Earth 42, just everybody realizing he's in the wrong universe.
They could have done that too. I would rather they not show it at all than show it without Prowler Miles.
I just think that like throughout the entire movie we're told that his spider is from a different universe. When he uses the machine and like we see Gwen swinging and he goes in his room and she goes around trying to find him, but she doesn't find him, and then she checks his watch and realizes that he's in the wrong universe. That's just how it happens in the movie. If it ended there, like and then like there wouldn't have been the like really like another part of the forced cliffhanger right before the credits. Gwen goes to reassemble the team from the first movie. You see Spider-Ham, Peter B, Spider-Man Noir, and Penny Parker, but she doesn't have like the giant robot from before because it got destroyed.
She has a comic accurate one now.
So it's just it's the team from the first movie. She assembles the team for the first movie to try and go save Miles. And like that's cool, but I feel like that's something that could have been showed in Beyond instead, because this is just clickbait.
Well, I think the assembling the Avengers bit could have just been a post-credit scene.
Yeah, that could have been the post-credit scene too.
Because the movie doesn't have one, but if it did, that could have just been it. Because I do like the conversation between MJ and Peter. I think it adds a lot. I wouldn't want that cut. I like Mayday being like, okay, it's hero time. She puts on her little hat. It's cute. But like I think that's important for the movie. But I feel like if I have to choose between seeing Earth 42 without Prowler or not seeing it at all and we're introduced to it in the next movie, I'd rather not see it at all and be introduced to it later.
Like, it's important to note that this movie started as a full movie, and then mid-production got split up into 2 parts.
And then mid that, they got 2 independent titles, because it's not called Part 1, Part 2 anymore.
Yeah, now it's Across the Spider-Verse, Beyond the Spider-Verse. I think it's important to note that this movie started off as its own thing before it split and became a 2-parter. So I'm pretty sure, like, the reason they did that obviously is because the movie was too long. But if the movie was all 1 part, that wouldn't have made it better. It's better to split it up. But when you split up 2 movies, you gotta be careful. You gotta be very, very careful. And I feel like the way they did it in this movie is not necessarily the way I'd want it to be done if you want to set up a 2-parter. As much as people dog on Two Towers, it is, in my eyes, a better prequel to Return of the King than Across the Spider-Verse is to Beyond. Even though Beyond's not out yet, I can't really say that. Two Towers feels like a complete movie with a major cliffhanger at the end. This movie feels like Across the Spider-Verse, and then after Across the Spider-Verse was over, they put the first 20 minutes of Beyond in there. That's what it feels like.
Well, that's why, like, I called it the Lord of the Rings problem, but I compared it to Empire Strikes Back. Because it feels, well, I don't really agree on the Two Towers bit either, but that's a separate conversation. But I do feel like this is this trilogy's Empire in a literal sense, because the movie, I mean, Empire does end, kinda, but it ends openly, like, we're not done yet. Like, it's one of those kinds of endings. And this one is just more hammered in that we're not done yet, because it's literally dangling bait in front of you.
Yeah, another big factor of this argument is that the Lord of the Rings story was already written. You know, they're adapting books. Like, this is a completely original story. The Spider-Verse is a completely original. Again, that's why I'm calling it the false cliffhanger, because this was all written to be a cliffhanger. I don't know if Two Towers the movie ends the same way as the book did. I don't know. I didn't read them. For Across the Spider-Verse, it really just feels like, you know how at the end, you know what, for No Way Home, in the first run in theaters, instead of having an actual after credit scene, they just played a trailer for Multiverse of Madness.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that for me. It's like that.
I get it. I don't agree, but I get it.
So most likely the way Beyond the Spider-Verse is going to start up is exactly where this movie ended. Miles being chained up to the punching bag and face to face with his alternate self. And I can't wait. I can't wait to watch it.
We're gonna get some cool action, some Miles versus Miles action. It's gonna be interesting because it's not just the Prowler versus Miles now, right? It's gonna be different.
Yeah, it's gonna be O'Hara's elite team versus this Prowler versus Miles. There's gonna be a 3-way attack here.
Yeah, I definitely think like Miles and Miles are gonna team up at some point.
Miles and Miles.
Assuming he doesn't die, which is on the table. Yeah, it's gonna be cool because I definitely think Prowler Miles will be a little bit more capable than Aaron was. Or else, like, what's the point, right? So, like, they're gonna make him different, and it's gonna be cool.
Yeah, I'm seeing Beyond the Spider-Verse being mostly action. Like, this movie was a lot of story and like big action near the end. Like, Beyond the Spider-Verse is probably gonna be like full-on action, and like we've never really had an animated movie that's like straight up superhero battle action other than anime, you know?
Yeah, and I'm excited. I mean, if my rambling throughout this entire process hasn't been to say. I'm very excited for this movie.
Yeah, this was really a Pat episode.
Yeah, we've been recording for a while. We did like behind the scenes. We stopped for like 10-15 minutes. We've been recording for a hot minute, and we're not done yet. We still have like 2 other things to talk about.
Yeah, I guess we could talk about that, but first, because we forgot to do it at the very beginning, let's just say our ratings. How much stars did you give the movie?
So, just to call back to the first one, Into the Spider-Verse is a 5 out of 5. Across the Spider-Verse, when I saw it for the first time, was a 4 out of 5. But now, after having seen it twice, it might be a 4.5 out of 5.
Into the Spider-Verse, 5 stars as well. Great movie. I regrettably, honestly, gave Across the Spider-Verse a 3.5 out of 5. Just because I mean, I already told you guys why. I'm sure on a rewatch, I will enjoy it more. I don't know if I said this when we reviewed Into the Spider-Verse, but it might surprise you to learn that when I first watched Into the Spider-Verse, I didn't just give it like 3.5 and said it was good. I just straight up didn't like it. I didn't understand the hype. I didn't understand why everybody loved it so much. But it was because I watched it in theaters. When I watched it again about a year later at home, I was like that scene of Danny DeVito being like, "Oh my god, I get it." Because it's just, I feel like when I wear headphones watching this movie, I'm gonna enjoy it more. I have a feeling. But that won't happen until it's released on Netflix probably, so gonna have to wait a little bit. I'm sure on my rewatch it'll be better, but just the mixing I heard from the theater and our kind of bad seats, the air was weird, you know, like my enjoyment was put down a little bit, but like...
7 out of 10 is still a good score.
Yeah, it's 7 out of 10. People need to... Guys, 7 out of 10 is good. That's 2 higher than average. Average is 5 out of 10. Higher than average is 6 out of 10. So people giving things 7 out of 10, that doesn't mean they don't like it. That means it's good. That means it's really good. I mean, like a 9 out of 10 is like amazing, and a 10 out of 10 is perfect, and nothing's perfect. You know, we give things 5 out of 5. That doesn't mean it's a perfect movie. I don't think there might never be a perfect movie, probably. I feel like the thing that even comes close is maybe The Godfather, but that's still not perfect.
Maybe Beyond the Spider-Verse will be JK.
We could only tell in 9 months or 10 months or 12 or
2 years.
But now we're done with that. Wow, that took forever. We're an hour in the second recording. Wow.
Yeah, it's gonna be a...
And you know, it's fitting for the 50th episode milestone. Hey, if you guys were listening for that entire thing and you made it here, this is why we love you. So we're gonna move on to our little TV show segment here. A new show that started recently is Secret Invasion, the newest MCU TV show. I watched the first episode and half of the second episode, and they're really, really, really boring. And it's really bad. And I'm not going to make the same mistake I made with Falcon and Winter Soldier. Instead of just soldiering on, I'm just gonna not watch it.
I kind of watched the first episode. I happened to be in the Discord call when Lib and another one of our friends were watching it, but I wasn't really paying attention, and I didn't watch the second episode. I have no interest in watching this show. Might binge it when the show ends. We'll see. Probably not, though. And we're not going to be talking about it on the podcast.
Yeah, sorry for the 3 fans of Secret Invasion listening to this, but...
Maybe when it ends, and if I've seen it, I'll make like a brief statement about it on whatever episode that is. But as of right now, I don't really plan on watching it. We don't plan to talk about it on the podcast.
So we're just going to move straight on to Backloggd, the segment where we recommend each other movies to talk about in the next episode. Last time, I recommended Pat A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. So tell us what you thought.
So we watched it together, and I grew up on Mr. Rogers like a lot of people in my age demo. We grew up with this character, and it was good. It was a cute watch. I kind of wish I got to see it in theaters when the time, but I didn't. But I really enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5. Thought it was a lot of fun. Thought it was very cute. I got a little emotional watching it. I'm not gonna lie. Didn't cry or anything, but it did make me very nostalgic. It made me. I did get a little emotional. It was a good movie. A good feel-good movie if you grew up with Mr. Rogers and you have that experience with the character. I would recommend. Tom Hanks is great as per usual because he's a good actor.
Yeah, he's my favorite actor, actually.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a nice recommendation. I look forward to recommending you something just as nice and happy.
I'm sure it will be. I gave this movie 4 stars.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen it, please do watch it with your folks. Watch it with your kids, whatever. Just watch it. It's fun. Good
Oh yeah,
time.
this is a great movie to watch with your folks. But there's some stuff in this movie. Don't watch it with your folks if you don't love them.
Yeah, now, in exchange, I'm gonna recommend you a film.
A film.
Yeah, a moving picture.
Oh,
So I got this from your watch list of Letterboxd. It's one of my favorite movies ever made, actually. Lib, what do you think about westerns?
westerns. I love them. My favorite video game's a western.
I got a modern day western for you. I'm recommending you No Country for Old Men.
Modern day western. What does that mean?
You'll have to find out.
Well, that's a good answer. That's what I was hoping you would say.
It's. I saw it for the first time in a film class a
Oh.
couple of years ago. I fell in love with it. I hope you do too. This is also the first movie I think ever that I've seen anywhere that has no music.
No music? Really?
Everything is background ambience, ambient sounds. There's no score. There's no OST. It's all real in the scene sounds, and it's interesting.
That has me excited. Wow. Okay, yeah. Oh, it's Coen Brothers. Even better. All right, cool. Well, tune in next episode where we're going to be covering No Country for Old Men and Backloggd, and also we are going to be talking about one of my favorite franchises, honestly. So a new Indiana Jones movie came out recently. We haven't seen it yet, but apparently it sucks. But we're gonna do something similar to what we did with Rocky. We're gonna go back on the good old days and do an entire retrospective on all 4 Indiana Jones movies. One of my favorite movies of all time is Last Crusade. You know, it's a rare thing for the last movie in a trilogy to be considered the best one, but I feel like it's like unanimous that everybody loves Last Crusade. I mean, how can you go wrong? Sean Connery, how can you go wrong?
I haven't seen a lot of these movies in a very long time, so I'm excited to revisit them. And I hope I enjoy Dial of Destiny, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see, hopefully. We're gonna actually go see it in theaters, so yeah, I hope. But that's gonna be it for today. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen. If you liked this episode and you want to hear more, then make sure you follow us on whatever app you're using to listen to us right now. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure to leave a comment and let us know what you thought about the episode. And if you're listening on Spotify, make sure you do the same thing. Go to the Q&A section in Spotify. Tell us what you thought of the episode. If you liked it, you didn't like it, we'd love to hear your feedback. Make sure you check us out on our Linktree, linktr.ee/freshoffthereal, no spaces, no caps. There you'll find links to our socials, the Twitter and the Instagram, and you'll also find our Letterboxd account so you can keep up with what movies we're watching. And you can fill out a little thing to recommend us a movie or a TV show. We'll take that, watch it, and make an episode about it. One thing I forgot to mention in the recording, make sure to go on the Jazzwalkers YouTube channel because there is a brand new skit uploaded there right now called The Court Case. There's also some deleted scenes and bloopers that are uploaded on the channel as well, so make sure you check that out. All of us are in the video. It's really funny. So make sure you check that out, and also subscribe to the Jazzwalkers to never miss another skit again. That's pretty much it. Yeah, thank you guys so much, and we will see all of you in a theater near you. Thanks for 50 episodes, guys. See ya.
Take care. Have a great one.
Okay, let's do a sound test. Hello, this is the voice of the guy, and he's gonna speak.
So today, well, this weekend, including today, was Anime Expo, and they're releasing a Suicide Squad anime. We got a trailer for that today, and it looks pretty neat. Also, they released gameplay footage of this Naruto game that I'm very excited for. Except Sasuke has what looks like a very broken ability, and I think it's going to be very funny to see it if this game has a competitive field at all, which it probably won't because 3D fighters tend to not have a competitive aspect to it. But if it does, this ability is kind of funny. You just swap position with your opponent and it comes out like instantly, basically. It's quite silly. That's the.
That sounds like crap.
I could show you live during the test of sound. That's it. Do you see?
There isn't even a fucking. Oh,
There isn't
okay. Oh,
even
there
an
is an
animation.
effect. Okay, there is. This
There's
is.
an effect, but like it's instant. It comes out like look at that. He just swapped places with his opponent.
That's bullshit.
I'm very excited. I hope this game has. I bring this game to Evo. Let's do it.
I love that Miles is so like in tune. What? Are you
Well,
kidding? Are you kidding me? In the middle of me talking? Wow, so rude.
just like the people of New York.
I'm walking here. Fuck you.